very, very cunning in the way they constructed the script, that they walk that line to provide entertainment, but also there's a little bit of insight where technology can catch up the way it's progressing, like with the Verisex helmet and the sex scenes and things like that. Yes, it's very possible.
Few blockbuster films carry secrets long buried in Hollywood folklore. But now, Sylvester Stallone has pulled back the curtain on Demolition Man, 1993, disclosing something most fans never suspected. After decades of quoting lines and admiring futuristic seashell lore, audiences will finally get a glimpse of an inside revelation, one that reshapes how we remember that icy showdown between Spartan and Phoenix. In a world where action legends guard their stories like national monuments, Stallone's confession is a crack in the façade, and it's one that dares us to see Demolition Man in a whole new light. Casting shakeups. Before Sylvester Stallone signed on, the studio imagined a different showdown entirely. Warner Brothers floated an all-martial arts pairing with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal. The concept leaned on their brands and promised a purist fighter-versus-fighter hook, but it unraveled before it could take shape. Both stars refused because neither would agree to play the villain. With no one willing to be the foil, the premise stalled out. The studio suddenly lacked a workable dynamic. A pivot became inevitable. Stallone stepped in, eager to anchor a futuristic cop story with a classic hero at its center. His presence shifted the project from a style duel to a star-driven action vehicle. It also reframed the antagonist's importance. Finding a villain who could counterbalance Stallone became the next critical task. Stallone then pushed for Jackie Chan to play Simon Phoenix. Chan was intrigued by the scale and visibility of the offer, but he knew his core audience in Asia disliked seeing him cast as evil. That cultural reality weighed heavily. Chan ultimately declined, choosing to protect the heroic persona his fans expected. The decision left the production searching for a different kind of threat. It also nudged the film away from a pure martial arts framing. Personality would matter as much as technique. Wesley Snipes took the opening and ran with it. He embraced Phoenix's anarchic flair, leaning into the character's manic humor and danger. The portrayal turned the villain into a gleeful catalyst of chaos. It was a tonal jolt the film needed. For an extra visual shock, Snipes bleached his hair blonde. He disliked the look and shaved it off immediately after filming Wrapped. On camera, though, it amplified Phoenix's wild aura. The image stuck as one of the film's defining signatures. The Stallone-Snipes pairing created a collision of temperaments rather than a mirror match of skills. Stallone's stoic intensity met Snipes' unhinged energy. That friction charged every confrontation. The result felt fresh for early 90s action. What began as a neat fighter's fantasy evolved into a gladiatorial personality clash. The switch opened up the movie's humor and satire. It made the villain unpredictable and the hero grounded. Audiences felt the spark. The early refusals that seemed like setbacks ended up reshaping the film's identity. The story gained contrast and rhythm from the new dynamic. Scenes crackled with tension before a punch was thrown. Casting choices became tone choices. Imagining Van Damme versus Seagal remains a fun what-if. But the eventual matchup delivered something stranger and more memorable. The movie traded symmetrical fighting styles for character fireworks. That trade-off still defines it. Snipes' look even rippled into the real world. Dennis Rodman famously adopted the bleach blonde shock, then spun it into an ever-changing palette of hairstyles. The influence traced a line from dystopian villain to sports icon. Casting choices spilled into pop culture. In the end, a cascade of no's led to the right yes. Stallone grounded the premise, Snipes ignited it, and the film found its voice. The path was crooked, but the outcome was distinctive. That is the casting chaos behind the cult classic. From one crucial pivot to another, the next shakeup arrived when a key supporting role changed hands overnight. Bullock takes over. Before Sandra Bullock became Lenina Huxley, the role belonged to Lori Petty. Fresh off notable turns, Petty brought an edgier energy to set, but creative clashes made the fit short-lived. She exited after just 2 days. The production scrambled to fill a vital counterweight to Stallone and Snipes. They needed warmth, timing, and curiosity that would not feel naive. The tone demanded optimism with steel underneath. The search was urgent. Bullock arrived as a rising actress best known for smaller roles. Her charm immediately softened the film's sharp edges. Huxley shifted from quirky sidekick to the story's emotional compass. That shift helped the world feel welcoming, not sterile. She balanced Stallone's granite seriousness and Snipes' frenetic charge. Idealism played as active, not ornamental. The character became a bridge between chaos and order. That bridge carried much of the satire's lighter touch. Months later, Bullock headlined Speed and vaulted into stardom. Demolition Man helped position her in the spotlight. Casting directors saw a future lead rather than a comic relief player. Audiences did too. Fans later spotted a curious bit of foreshadowing. During the debate about thawing John Spartan, a tiny model bus sits in the background. A year later, Bullock was behind the wheel in Speed. The coincidence became favorite trivia. Another coincidence connected the film's fast food satire to Bullock's future. In the sanitized future of the movie, every restaurant is Taco Bell. Years later, she won an Academy Award for The Blind Side, playing the wife of a man whose fortune included Taco Bell franchises. The echo turned into a playful lore note. Bullock's presence steadied a production navigating clashing tones. She made exposition feel like discovery. Her curiosity let the future breathe on screen. The character's positivity proved contagious. What could have been a patch job became a pivot point. Huxley emerged as the film's heart. The dynamic between leads found a workable rhythm. Comedy and sincerity could coexist. Looking back, the 2-day disruption reshaped the movie more than a late rewrite could. Chemistry improved almost instantly. Scenes landed cleaner. The whole film felt better calibrated. Bullock's turn serves as a case study in right performer, right moment. A sudden vacancy became a career hinge. The role now reads like an early thesis statement for her range. It was a small door that opened into a big career. By the time cameras rolled on the rest of the shoot, Stallone was juggling more than a film. He was carrying a second blockbuster at the same time. Stallone's double duty. 1993 pushed Stallone to his limits. Demolition Man and Cliffhanger overlapped so tightly that press days bled into shooting days. He was doing interviews about scaling icy peaks while wearing John Spartan's future cop uniform. Sleep was a luxury. He would wrap an action sequence in San Angeles and sprint into promotional mode for cliffside stunts. Flights blurred into call sheets. The pace was relentless by any measure, but the visibility dividend was real. For a brief window, Stallone was the blockbuster. He carried two very different action tones at once: neon satire and alpine peril. The contrast highlighted his range within the genre. Audiences got variety from the same star. The gamble paid off in momentum. Both projects fed each other's awareness. Fans who saw one were reminded of the other. The cross-current promoted him as a versatile anchor. Behind the scenes, Demolition Man's tone was shifting. Early drafts leaned harder into sly social satire, with more bite than boom. The irony was meant to be the main draw. Action sat further back. Then producer Joel Silver came aboard with a different philosophy. He believed audiences came for spectacle over subtlety. He pushed for constant momentum and bigger set pieces. The gears began to turn faster. Silver tore through Fred Decker's quieter draft and demanded escalation. Louder shootouts, larger explosions, ever-rising tempo. Under his guidance, every scene aimed to top the last. The film became a roller coaster. The satire did not disappear. It changed delivery. Jokes and warnings were folded into set pieces. The world-building survived as punchlines inside chaos. Controlled chaos became the signature. Critics rolled their eyes at the excess, but fans showed up. The movie opened at number 1 and went on to gross nearly 160 million worldwide. VHS and cable extended its life for years. Familiarity bred cult affection. Viewers kept quoting the seashells and Taco Bell gags. Dorm rooms and reruns turned throwaway lines into folklore. Over time, the satire felt eerily predictive. The film sharpened with age. In practical terms, Velocity solved a problem. How to deliver satire at blockbuster scale. Keep the energy high and let the commentary ride the current. The mix works because the ride works. Pace became the delivery system. The fusion of a punishing schedule and a maximalist producer forged a distinct identity. Demolition Man moves like an adrenaline machine and thinks in punchlines. That balance is why it still lands. It is commentary wrapped in combustion. All that energy needed a physical world to match. Spectacle over subtlety. At first, the movie was shaping up to be something sly. Early drafts leaned toward a darkly comic piece of social satire, with more bite than boom. It poked fun at political correctness and creeping corporate influence with a sharp wink. The playbook prioritized irony over explosions. Then producer Joel Silver arrived and changed the physics of the project. Known as the architect of Lethal Weapon and Die Hard, he believed audiences came for spectacle, not nuance. He pushed for more momentum, not less. Subtlety quickly lost ground. Silver tore through Fred Decker's quieter draft and demanded escalation. Bigger set pieces, louder shootouts, and relentless action replaced slower burn satire. He wanted every beat to move, every scene to top the last. The machine began to rev. Under his watch, the film transformed into a high-velocity attraction. The pacing felt like a roller coaster that refused to slow down. Dialogue quips were timed to detonations. The result was a ride with barely a breath between turns. The satire did not vanish, it changed jackets. Instead of droll commentary, it became punchlines folded into chaos. Jokes and warnings rode inside the spectacle. Energy became the delivery system. What emerged felt like controlled chaos. Silver treated story as secondary to kinetic impact. The film's identity took shape around motion, not meditation. It is a blueprint you can feel in every cut. Critics rolled their eyes at the excess. They saw a cartoonish torrent of noise, but fans embraced it, turning the very excess into a defining stamp. The audience voted for velocity. That vote showed up in performance and longevity. The film opened at number 1 and eventually grossed nearly 160 million worldwide. VHS and cable turned it into a dorm room and late-night staple. Familiarity helped sharpen the satire with age. The recalibration did something clever for the commentary. By riding the spectacle, the ideas reached wider viewers who came for the fireworks. The jokes snuck in with the adrenaline. Irony arrived strapped to a rocket. In the context of the 90s action landscape, Silver's fingerprints were unmistakable. His playbook from earlier hits favored escalation and attitude. He transplanted that DNA into a futuristic satire. The tone landed somewhere between parody and pyrotechnics. The approach also fit Stallone's star power. A bigger, faster frame amplified the clash with Wesley Snipes' volatility. Personality and pace fused into a brand. That fusion is what people remember. In short, Silver's push turned a witty sci-fi fable into an action circus that still smuggled in its jokes. It traded quiet for velocity without losing the wink. The film's lasting identity sits right where spectacle and satire collide. That collision is the point. Real future, real speed. On set, Wesley Snipes moved too fast for the lens. Years of martial arts training gave him explosive speed that cameras struggled to capture. Kicks and punches appeared as blurs in the dailies. Fight coordinators were frustrated, and editors had little to cut. The fix was almost ironic for an action star. Snipes had to slow his strikes to roughly half speed so the audience could actually see them. Even then, his motion read as feral and unpredictable. The constraint became character. What began as a technical headache turned into texture. Simon Phoenix looked like he was outpacing the very system trying to catch him. The blur became an aura of menace. It made the villain feel untouchable. The future city around him was not built on massive sets or computer trickery. San Angeles was largely Irvine, California, repurposed to look spotless and new. Producers had dreamed of San Diego and San Francisco, but budget demands crushed those plans. Orange County offered a ready-made futurism. Stark glass offices and wide streets supplied a strange, antiseptic vibe. The architecture lacked visible history, which matched a story set after a massive earthquake. The skyline felt blank in an uncanny way. It looked like tomorrow without trying too hard. Watching the film now means seeing real suburbs rather than matte paintings. Irvine accidentally delivered an authentic futuristic mood. The city's neatness sold the sanitized society on screen. It grounded the satire in a believable place. Vehicles did their share of world building too. General Motors loaned real prototypes, with the GM Ultralight as the jewel. Only one fully functional ultralight existed at the time. GM built extra non-driving shells to fill out the streets. The bubble shapes and lightweight carbon fiber bodies looked like alien artifacts. On screen, they made even crashes appear stylish. Off-screen, they were guarded like museum pieces and moved with care. Every shot was a balancing act. Long before self-driving hype dominated headlines, these prototypes teased a future that felt plausible. The movie presented that future as already arrived. In reality, most designs stayed in the concept lane. That gap adds a bittersweet edge. The combination of slowed-down fights, real locations, and actual concept cars made the world tactile. Practical choices gave the satire weight. They also aged better than heavy digital effects would have. Reality did the heavy lifting. Together, the choices made the movie's future feel oddly plausible. You can see fists, roads, and machines that truly existed. The satire sits on concrete and carbon fiber. That is why the world still plays. Global switch-ups. In the United States, one restaurant won the franchise wars. Taco Bell emerged as the lone survivor, reimagined as a tuxedo dinner destination. The absurdity landed as a crowd-pleasing gag. Fine dining under a neon bell became shorthand for the film's sanitized future. Overseas, that joke needed a rewrite. Distributors worried many audiences had never heard of Taco Bell. The solution was simple corporate logic. Swap in Pizza Hut, a brand under the same parent company. To make it seamless, crews shot alternate inserts and signage. Every reference and logo was adjusted region by region. It created two versions of reality without changing the story's spine. The edit was invisible unless you knew to look. Fans eventually noticed by comparing VHS tapes and DVDs. In one timeline, Stallone ate tacos. In another, he twirled pasta under chandeliers. Viewers realized they were living in parallel cuts. It became a meta-gag inside a movie already about fractured futures. That corporate tweak did more than localize a joke. It accidentally echoed the film's themes. Two realities existed at once, both official. It is brand management as world building. The boldest rebrand happened in Kuwait. Local distributors retitled the movie Rambo the Destroyer to leverage Stallone's most famous character. The move was pure marketing opportunism, and it worked. Tickets sold on the Rambo legacy. Audiences expecting jungle warfare instead met cryo prisons, upscale fast food, and the three seashells. The clash of expectations only heightened the oddity. For some, it played like an unintended crossover. Rambo had leapt into a sanitized future. That created an accidental alternate timeline in fan imagination. People joked about wanting the crossover for real. The title swap turned a cop satire into the skin of an entirely different franchise. It showed how labels can reshape perception. These switch-ups reframed the film by region. Familiar brands smoothed entry into a very specific satire. The edits did not change plot. They changed context. Context is how jokes land. The legacy of the swaps persists in fandom. Import collectors talk about parallel versions as a hobby in itself. The differences are minor but meaningful. They are proof that markets make movies multiply. In the end, global tweaks helped the film travel while multiplying its mythologies. It is one movie in several branded skins. Each path delivers the same story with a different wink. That is a strange victory for a satire about corporate creep. Next, we leave the marketing suite and head into the editing room, where a missing family subplot and a bathroom riddle reshaped how fans interpret the film. Cuts and curiosities. Demolition Man almost carried a hidden heartbeat. John Spartan's daughter. Early drafts and even filmed scenes revealed that she survived the cryo years and grew up, joining the underground resistance. The story teased a reunion in the wasteland sequences, adding emotional weight to Spartan's arc. However, test screenings showed the subplot slowed the film and dulled its momentum. As a result, editors cut the daughter's storyline entirely, prioritizing pace over sentiment. The scene lingered as a ghost of a storyline, visible only briefly as an extra in one cut. Fans were left with dangling threads, notably the unusual chemistry between Spartan and Lenina Huxley. This fueled a long-running fan theory that Huxley was secretly Spartan's daughter. Though not true, the absence of answers gave the theory power. The deleted subplot became one of cinema's strangest what-ifs. Families torn apart by editing room decisions left a void that imagination filled. That void gained mythic quality over time. Meanwhile, the film's most famous, peculiar gag, the three seashells, confounded audiences from the start. Spartan and the viewers alike were baffled, with no explanation given on screen. Screenwriter Daniel Waters later revealed the idea came from a friend who simply kept seashells in his bathroom as decoration. Waters found the shells fanciful and tossed them into the script as a joke, never intending a serious explanation. From there, theories multiplied exponentially. Some claimed 2 shells were for scraping, 1 for polishing. Stallone once suggested they might work like primitive bidets. None of these explanations is canonical. The mystery became a running joke in interviews, fan forums, and conventions. It transformed into one of sci-fi cinema's most enduring puzzles. The joke's power lies in its ambiguity, proving that sometimes the silliest details outlive explosions and gunfire. The contrast between the cut daughter subplot and the enduring seashells joke shows two sides of storytelling gravity. One thread was removed because it explained too much and slowed the film. The other survived because it explained nothing and sparked endless speculation. This balance between clarity and mystery shaped the film's lasting appeal. Fans continue debating and embracing these mysteries decades after release. The missing family reunion and bathroom riddle have become inseparable from the movie's identity. The editing choices favored speed and lean storytelling over emotional complexity. That helped the film age into a cult classic with a streamlined, energetic flow. At the same time, the omissions gave fans fertile ground for theories and fan fiction. Both the excised subplot and the enigmatic gag remain deeply woven into Demolition Man's mythology. They illustrate how absence can be as powerful as presence in narrative. What the camera left out often lives as vividly as what it captured. The continued fascination with these elements shows how editing room decisions can shape a film's afterlife. They invite viewers to become active participants, filling blanks and debating intent. In that way, the film's legacy grew beyond the screen. Ultimately, the missing reunion and the mysterious seashells turned negative space into pop-cultural mythology. They keep Demolition Man alive not just as an action movie, but as a puzzle and a playground. Cult classic status. When Demolition Man hit theaters, critics largely dismissed it as cartoonish noise, another Stallone shoot-'em-up drowned in explosions. Reviews called it overblown, even idiotic, missing its deeper layers. What many critics overlooked became the film's secret weapon: razor-edged parody hidden beneath chaos. The film opened at number 1 and grossed nearly $160 million globally. Its box office success was only the beginning. Home video releases gave it a second life, turning it into a cult favorite. Dorm rooms, late-night cable, and rental stores fueled its after-hours fandom. Fans traded tapes, quoted lines, and reveled in the film's mix of satire and action. The jokes that once seemed throwaway sharpened with time. The absurd future world it mocked began to look eerily familiar as society evolved. The film foresaw trends that critics ignored. Verbal morality laws, political correctness policing, corporate monopolies, and privatized policing all crept closer to reality in the decades after release. What was parody became uncomfortable prophecy. Political celebrities, sanitized language, and fast food empires dominating culture echo the movie's exaggerated warnings. That uncanny relevance lifted Demolition Man from forgettable to essential. It gained respect as one of sci-fi's most accurate cult classics. Wesley Snipes' bleached blonde Simon Phoenix added cultural shockwaves beyond cinema. His wild hairstyle inspired NBA bad boy Dennis Rodman, who transformed it into a signature, ever-changing look. The villain's over-the-top image crossed into sports and fashion. The crossover proved the film's impact wasn't confined to screens, but influenced wider pop culture rebellion. Phoenix rewired the playbook for style defiance in sports and beyond. He remains a symbol of anarchic energy, shaped by Demolition Man's visual flair. The movie's soundtrack also carries legacy. The title track originated as an early 80s song by Sting, reworked for the film with a slower, menacing tone. It added an ironic layer to the movie, underscoring themes of control and chaos. The song itself became a cult artifact. Demolition Man thrives not just on action, but on its layered satire and cultural echoes. It remains quoted, analyzed, and celebrated in fan communities and retrospectives alike. The film's ability to combine humor, spectacle, and prediction cements its place in pop culture. Over time, the initially dismissed satire has transformed into a warning wrapped in neon armor. The movie's sharp critique, once drowned out by spectacle, shines through more clearly with age. It serves as a reminder that beneath big explosions, there can be big ideas. Despite its flaws, or perhaps because of them, Demolition Man endures as a 90s action cult hit with unexpected depth. Its combination of goofy futurism, social critique, and dynamic performances make it a uniquely watchable piece of pop history. For many, the movie's lasting power lies not only in the story told, but also in the way it invited viewers to decode and reimagine a dystopia strangely close to our own. It's a niche classic that grew into a cautionary tale for new generations. Legacy and recent buzz. Though decades old, Demolition Man refuses to settle into quiet cult status. Interest surged again around 2020, when Sylvester Stallone teased a potential sequel during an online Q&A. He described it as looking great, sparking renewed excitement among fans and media. No official announcements or production details have emerged since. The project remains in speculation, with no confirmed cast or release date. Yet Stallone's hint rekindled public conversation and nostalgic fervor. The sequel tease tapped into the ongoing affection for the film's unique blend of satire and action. Fans shared theories on social media, imagining continuations of San Angeles and unresolved storylines. The idea of renewed clashes between Spartan and Phoenix intrigued many. Aside from sequel chatter, in 2018, Taco Bell ran a Comic-Con pop-up inspired by the film's franchise wars gag. The event turned the movie's fast food satire into immersive marketing. Neon-lit menus featuring tuxedo dinners brought the joke to life for a new crowd. Coverage of the pop-up spread widely, giving the film fresh cultural resonance. It showed that key jokes and imagery still connect decades later, engaging younger fans unfamiliar with the original theatrical release. The three seashells joke periodically resurfaces online as well. Social media and interviews keep the mystery alive, as fans guess and mock the absurdity. It remains a cultural touchstone, proof that small details can wield outsized influence. Reviewers and video essayists continue to revisit the film's satire in the context of current social debates. Commentary about censorship, corporate power, and sanitized culture frequently cite Demolition Man as uncannily prescient. The film's reputation grows with each analysis. Wesley Snipes' portrayal also finds new appreciation. His wild energy, physicality, and iconic look are celebrated in retrospectives. Once dismissed as over-the-top, Phoenix's role is recognized as a standout performance that rewired action villain archetypes. Demolition Man's ability to survive market shifts, changing tastes, and cultural reappraisals speaks to its adaptability. It inhabits a rare space between camp, commentary, and genuine thrills. That mix keeps it alive in geek, pop, and cinephile circles. The property's afterlife also lives on in related media. Comics and video games released in the 90s extended the story world, even if unevenly received. They illustrate how the film's energy translated beyond the screen. Together, new attention and legacy content assure the film's continued relevance. Fans old and new find reasons to revisit its neon-lit satire. The potential sequel promises to push that relevance into the future. Whatever comes next for Demolition Man, it remains a touchstone for boldly combining action and social insight. It shows how even the loudest spectacle can carry a meaningful message decades later. The Taco Bell Empire. In Demolition Man's sanitized, corporate-controlled future, Taco Bell stands as the lone winner of a franchise war, serving tuxedo dinners beneath a glowing neon bell, a sharp satire of consumerism and monopolized culture. However, the joke didn't translate overseas, where Taco Bell was virtually unknown. To fix this, international versions swapped all branding for Pizza Hut, filming alternate shots and signage to create seamless regional variants. This clever localization birthed two corporate futures, one ruled by tacos, the other by pizza. Even so, the satire remained intact. Rather than weakening the message, the Taco Bell Pizza Hut switch made Demolition Man's critique of globalization even more potent. The film didn't just mock corporate dominance, it participated in it, tailoring its futuristic world to fit regional markets. The result was an unintentional meta-joke, a movie about homogenized culture becoming homogenized itself, proving that in a world run by brands, the product will always adapt to survive. This real-world branding experiment turned into a fascinating case study in marketing manipulation. By reshaping its own reality to appeal to different audiences, Demolition Man mirrored the very forces it ridiculed. Whether Spartan was savoring tacos or pizza, the story's satire of consumer control and uniformity still hit home. The message was clear: logos may change, but the machinery behind them remains the same. Some regions took the localization even further. In Kuwait, the film was retitled Rambo the Destroyer, leveraging Stallone's more famous persona to attract audiences expecting jungle warfare instead of dystopian comedy. The rebrand was absurd, yet fitting. It proved the film's point that entertainment, like everything else in a corporatized world, can be reshaped, repackaged, and resold. In the end, Demolition Man's satire escaped the screen and became its own reality. From turbulent casting revolutions to a corporate fast food future that exists in two realities, the story behind this neon-lit dystopia is packed with surprises. What seemed like pure 90s bombast was really a layered satire, a prophecy, and a springboard for unexpected careers. If you enjoyed these behind-the-scenes takes and weird facts, please like this video, subscribe for more deep dives, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss what we explore next.